is Jordan with Primrose Home Care and Hospice. As I visit with people on a regular basis, I see many things we can help with. Recent falls, balance training, knee, shoulder, and hip surgeries, memory loss, housekeeping, help with medications, and that's not all. We at Primrose offer the best care in any situation. A great example of this is our preventative care program. While working with your doctor and using our personal approach, we can help prevent many of these situations. For more explanation, visit primrosecare.com or call me at 787-1369. Primrose Home Care and Hospice. We're
It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interview. Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Throws, ends it, yes! Caught! Touchdown! They did it!
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome on in. It's another edition of the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker. Love to have you part of the show as well. Young Power Sports of Logan text line is open, 435-339-0321. That's how you can chime in, be a part of the program. Let us know what's on your mind. Agree or disagree or change topics, as is prone to happen on there, but
we're trying to be better about focusing the texts into the sections we already have.
Yes.
We may have to do that again, 2444, texting in, talking about something I put out on social media about basketball, as we'll be getting into that a little bit more.
Second hour.
Yeah, I've got some in the second hour there.
So patience there, 2444. Or if you're listening on the podcast, it'll be in the second hour podcast.
Yeah.
But we wanted to start things off talking about Utah State football as we continue to look at Utah State and Fresno State, the matchup between these two teams. And Utah State, once again, chasing an opportunity to get to bowl eligibility and trying to get that sixth win, trying to do it on the road at Fresno State. And the Bulldogs, a tough opponent, but a team that has been struggling as of late. They made a fundamental change on offense. They did a change at quarterback, and they've been struggling a little bit with their last couple of games. And so this is a team that, in my mind, does not look as formidable as they looked earlier on in the season. But they still are 7-3 overall. They're 4-2 in conference play. They are still very much in the conference title game discussion, as they are tied with Boise, New Mexico, UNLV, and Hawaii. All four of those teams, I guess that's five teams, still vying to be there. And San Diego State is above everybody. They're a game ahead. But Fresno State definitely not out of the mix, even though they've been struggling a little bit. They're still a pretty tough football program. They've in the last four games, they've won two, they've lost two. They lost to Colorado State, which was embarrassing, and they followed that up with a complete shutout against San Diego State in San Diego. And then they turned that around, and then they beat up on Boise, knocked their quarterback out of the game, won that one 30-7, and then beat Wyoming 24-3. So they squeaked by Nevada earlier. They squeaked by Hawaii. So their conference games have been kind of wonky a little bit, but still, this is a team that's a pretty solid team defensively, and at least in a good number of their games, but a team that can still pose some challenge with what they do on offense as well. It's a run-first team, and that's going to be the real question for Utah State in for their defensive presence. Can they stop the run against the Bulldogs?
Yeah, and that's going to be the biggest part of the game plan. The other part, has to do with Utah State, how well they play against Fresno's defense, which has played rather well. They've had very few, if really any, bad defensive games. Like the last time I could say they had like a bad defensive game was against Kansas. Because look at that, 49 points allowed against Colorado State. A lot of that was the offense handing the ball to Colorado State. Like, I think Colorado State had one or two non-offensive touchdowns and a bunch of others that
short fields.
Yeah, short fields. So really, that wasn't even that bad of a performance by the defense. It was the offense just playing absolutely tremendously bad. So they have one of the better defenses and probably the most underrated defense in the Mountain West. But an interesting thing about Fresno State, when you look at these two teams, if you think 7-3 versus 5-5, people see that record and they think, okay, 7-win team, better than a 500 team. But the rankings, as far as a lot of the metrics, things like SP Plus, K Ford, FEI, all these different things that I use to, these composites, they all have Utah State and Fresno State rather close. For instance, SP Plus has Fresno State 73, Utah State's at 79. And K Ford, for instance, has Fresno State 85, Utah State 84. So ever so slightly ahead. Well, technically, they have the exact same K Ford rating of minus 5.2. So they're maybe a couple more decimal places that are separating these two teams. So these are teams that a lot of computer metrics are considering close in caliber. In that, as you were talking about early on, this is not a game where it's like preseason and even after the first few weeks, where Fresno State started the season, I think 5-1 or something like that. Yeah, 5-1, where they lost in the opener to Kansas, but then they whooped up on Georgia Southern, beat Oregon State. That win isn't as impressive as it maybe once was, but then they blow out Southern. They beat Hawaii, a game that looks a lot better in retrospect. At the time, I kind of didn't give them credit for it, but now it looks a lot better. Winning at Hawaii, something San Diego State couldn't do. You did have the close game against Nevada, but still that put them at a 5-1 start to the season. Well, since then, they're 2-2, to where they're 7-3 now. Losses to Colorado State and San Diego State and wins over Boise and Wyoming. Pretty impressive wins as far as margin of victory against Boise and Wyoming. 23 points and 21 points. But it still feels like there are some weaknesses so long as Utah State can play well. Because you look at their offense. This is where I want to hook in on some weaknesses. Mentioned the quarterback change. I know that these are probably the best defenses Fresno State has played these last 3 weeks, San Diego State, Boise, and Wyoming. But at least the last 2 weeks, the last 3 weeks overall, their passing game has been awful. You talk about them being a run team. Run is about the only thing they've been able to do for 3 weeks. Again, context with the defense. But their completion percentage has been under 50% each one of the last 3 games, 46.7% overall. They have 312 passing yards total in the last 3 games. In each of the last 2 games, they've passed for under 100. And then they have 1 touchdown to 2 interceptions. So this is a team that, it's not that they like to run the ball, it's that they can't throw the ball lately.
Yeah, they did make a change at quarterback, which is a kind of a tough call to make this late in the season, especially when you have the record like you do. But E.J. Warner, son of Kirk Warner, got benched.
Following in his father's footsteps of being a backup.
Yeah, I mean, he had thrown for 1,500 yards, but he'd also thrown 9 interceptions, had been sacked 13 times. So they made the move to Carson Conklin, and not that he's done much better. 1 touchdown to 2 interceptions and sacked twice. So they're just not really having great success at the quarterback position.
Yeah, well, statistically, he's just done worse. He's been the guy that's been in these last 3 games. Now, again, caliber of opponent kind of factors in, but even when like Bryson Barnes was playing good teams, he wasn't completing 44% of his passes for 95 yards on 27 attempts. Like, that's bad.
Yeah.
That's not mediocre. That's not below average.
They're not pressing the ball down the field. They're not completing a lot of great passes.
And that's something that if you're Utah State, like, can you take advantage of that? Now, mind you, in 2 games where they had a combined, 130 passing yards? Whatever 95 plus 35 is, that's how many passing yards they have in the last 2 games. Yeah, 130 passing yards and a 46 completion percentage. That's what they have in the last 2 games. They won both games. So, we can't hyperfixate on that and then say, well, they're terrible and they suck and Utah State's going to beat the tar out of them. They won 2 games by a combined 44 points when they had a total of 130 passing yards. And not even necessarily dominant rushing numbers. They averaged 4.3 yards per carry. In one game, they had 189 rushing yards. The other, they had 216 rushing yards, which is certainly good. I mean, if you're getting close to and getting above 200 rushing yards, that's a good game. But yards per carry, not necessarily super dominant.
Yeah.
But it's been enough, and then their defense has allowed 10 points.
Yeah, that's the thing. Their defense has been great.
Yeah.
Well, their offense has stagnated. Defense is their calling card, so that's going to keep them in a lot of games, if not give them a mediocre or even a poor offense, short fields to work with, giving them good field position, or just making life miserable for their opponents to give themselves a chance in these games. So their offense really isn't that dynamic. They do have a couple of solid running backs, but it's not like this is a team that is can really hit you in different ways on the field. Take away the run, and the secondary for Utah State has been improving. We've seen 2 really solid games back-to-back by Utah State's secondary. Put your trust in them. Now, there might be a little bit of question about the boundary safety position because Brevin Hamblin got hurt. Don't know if he'll be available on Saturday. Titan Saxton is certainly out. But for Utah State's secondary overall, they've been playing some very solid defense lately. So put your trust in those guys to do their job and maybe dedicate a little bit more attention up front in stopping the run. And you're going to take away what Fresno State wants to do offensively.
Yeah, if you can manage to dedicate that extra effort to the defense or to the run game without then opening the door for at times bad passing game, to then maybe have a better than normal game. If you can dedicate that extra space, then, that's just a massive boon for this defense. And it's something that Utah State can attack. And that's the kind of thing you want to be able to look for in any matchup, is something that, you don't just have to survive as a defense. Just be okay, we got to survive this great player. We got to survive this, thing they do really well. You got to find something that you can attack and dictate your will, against, and that can be the mark of a great defense, going out there and making things happen as opposed to reacting to what the offense does. So if you're able to go out there and attack their run game, even though that's their strength, you attack their run game, realizing that, hey, the pass game may not be able to beat us, then that's something that can really help Utah State slow down Fresno State. And that obviously gives the offense all that many more opportunities to do something against what will be a very stiff challenge with Fresno State's defense. Because and one thing that, Utah State's defense will have to potentially worry about is the fact that Fresno State's defense really complements its offense in that they hand Fresno State really good field position. Fresno State ranks 19th in the country in their starting field position.
Wow.
The offense may not get a ton of yards and may not do well efficiency-wise, but they often don't have to travel that far to begin with through, just 3 and out, force a 3 and out, force a punt, or force a turnover, and you have good field position. They're starting on average on the 30-yard line.
Well, yeah, their total team defense in conference games alone, they rank number 1 in the conference, only giving up 266 yards to opponents on average in conference play. By contrast, Utah State, they give up over 430. So yeah, that's a big gap between what Fresno State is allowing versus what Utah State's allowing. So they're their team defense is really their calling card for who they are this season.
Yeah.
Because offensively, it's not theirs, or it's woefully inconsistent. But the defense, that's where Fresno State shines so far this season.
Yeah, so that's the thing that Utah State is probably going to have to worry about the most, is just scoring points. If they can get to 27, 28 points in this game, that'd be a big win, I think, and that could very well be enough to beat Fresno State. So long as the defense continues to play the way that it has the last few weeks. Because if it plays like that, if it plays the same way it did against Nevada and UNLV, that's a defense that could hold Fresno to like 10 points. Because that's the caliber of defense they've been playing for a couple of weeks. So if they're able to bring that out there, and if Utah State's defense plays that well, then they kind of feed Fresno State some of their own medicine. And Utah State gets better field position. And maybe they give themselves a short field, because with Fresno State, how many times they're throwing interceptions? I think they have 11 interceptions on the year between both their quarterbacks. That's something that perhaps they can take advantage of and give their offense easy points, which if you can get easy points against Fresno State's defense, you got to take advantage of that.
I thought it was interesting hearing Coach Bronco Mendenhall describe this Fresno State team. He likes to talk about complementary football in a lot of ways. That your offense needs to play in a certain way to complement your defense. Even just on offense, you need to be able to have that mix of run versus pass. But he described Fresno State as having a complementary style. Didn't really say they have complementary football, but they have a complementary style.
Fresno has again, the word I use is a complementary style. Their offensive scheme, and currently how they're doing it with the quarterback change that happened maybe 4 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. The style, especially they're playing offensively, complements their defensive style and vice versa. So you're playing an entire team and an entire strategy or strategic intent. And so that's working really well in terms of number of plays, possessions, time of possession, and there's a very specific style there. They're not concerned if they win 24-21 or 20-17 or 17-10. The game is being managed intentionally for that to happen. There could be big plays. That doesn't mean they don't want those from what I see on film. But there is a clear identity to the team that they've moved toward, that the offense and defense are complementary based on the styles they're playing.
And there was just as a follow-up to that, they as we've alluded to, they made a change at the quarterback position, which is, kind of a big thing to do this late in the season, especially in a team that's already won 7 games. I guess to that point, they hadn't won 7. They'd won 5. But still kind of a big decision to make. And that can create some change with the team when you make a change like that. It's such an important position. And so the question was, well, does Utah State now mostly just focus on studying film from the last 3 games since they made that change at quarterback?
Is there any sign or influence that it could go back? And usually when you make that significant of a change, those are hard decisions as leaders, by the way. And I think the turnovers, certainly, again, I haven't listened or read or gone back. I haven't had enough time yet to see possibly what the explanation for the change was. My guess would be turnovers, and my guess would be just a style with the ball being thrown more that wasn't really matching maybe what they thought their best chance to win. And it was probably, just in looking at the film, it was probably the Colorado State game that might have been the catalyst, where they were beat and the points didn't really match how this team has been playing prior to or after. And so as the leaders, and I compliment them for that, those are hard decisions, but it looks like a pretty significant change that they are willing to do that's yielded. And so most likely it's the last 3 games is the style we'll see. Maybe more than most likely, maybe probably. Probably just short of certainly, just short of that. But you have to acknowledge maybe the story of how it got there to see if there's any thought that it might be different.
Yeah, so that's you have to consider things can fundamentally change if you have a different type of quarterback under center. but you still have to consider what the team has done over the course of the season. You still have to figure out who their identity is. You can't just focus on a few games. But this quarterback change has maybe helped them, but I don't know. I guess the jury, I think, is still out a little bit because they lost the game and then have won 2 with the quarterback. So maybe they feel a little bit better about it. But they did that, against team. Well, certainly the Boise game, that's a big win. But that was mostly because of the defense, what the defense did to Boise.
Yeah.
But the offense still mustered 30 points. So that's not an easy thing to do in Boise, no less.
Yeah, and it's tricky because, and I think pretty sure I asked, unless you already played the clip from it. I think you already did, because I was asking about, how you analyze what the change has been for them, because they've gone 2-1. They've put up but they've also put up some of their worst offensive numbers of this season. But it was also 3 of the best defenses they'll play all year. How do you analyze that? How do you, break through the nuance? Because the argument that I've brought up about 20 times already on this show was back in 2017 when Jordan Love threw, I think it was 3 interceptions. I'm pretty sure it was against Wyoming. I suddenly can't remember exactly who he was playing. Utah State, he comes in for Kent Myers, throws 3 interceptions in that game. But then the next game he starts, and nobody batted an eye. Because the stats said one thing, but the film said another thing.
Yes.
And so that's where it's hard to just say, well, the numbers have been terrible, therefore it's a bad decision. You got to be privy to the conversations that are happening. Is there something about him that's just opened up the offense a little bit better? That was something that Jordan Love brought in 2017. We obviously saw why he was able to be like that. We've seen what he's done since then at the college and pro level. So is there something about him that's helping push the offense forward? I wouldn't necessarily say so, because again, I look at their 3 games, and the best thing about those 3 games has been their defense. Nothing about their offense, statistically or any kind of results-wise, has really pointed toward the offense being significantly improved. But again, some of that is the caliber of defense they're playing. If he comes out and balls out against Utah State, maybe it shows that it was a better decision. But it's just it's really tricky for me to really figure out whether or not it is a significant boon for them. But yeah, overall, it seems Coach Mendenhall talked about where it's turnovers. And yeah, the Colorado State game probably was the catalyst. As Mendenhall said, E.J. Warner had 4 turnovers in that game, which again led to 49 points for the Rams.
Yeah, which is not a good football team.
Yeah.
And I think they'd already fired their coach by that point.
Was it the week before or after this game? I can't remember.
Because I think Colorado State fired Norvell after the Hawaii loss. So I don't know. Let's go back and double check that. But either way, a lot more to get into with Utah State and Fresno State. We'll hear more from the coaches and the players too. How do the players feel about getting ready to take on Fresno? And some familiar faces wearing Fresno State jerseys. Guys who were wearing Aggie jerseys last year. And I thought these were nice players for Utah State. They got shown the door. They didn't feel very good about that. And Bronco went on record earlier this week saying he doesn't even remember these guys. So we'll talk about that next on the Full Court Press.
This is Jordan with Primrose Home Care and Hospice. As I visit with people on a regular basis, I see many things we can help with. Recent falls, balance training, knee, shoulder, and hip surgeries, memory loss, housekeeping, help with medications, and that's not all. We at Primrose offer the best care in any situation. A great example of this is our preventative care program. While working with your doctor and using our personal approach, we can help prevent many of these situations. For more explanation, visit primrosecare.com or call me at 787-1369. Primrose Home Care and Hospice. We're your home team.
At Mountain Valley Heating and Air Conditioning, now's the time to feel the love and the savings. With current tax credits and government rebates, save up to 40 and 50% on new heating and cooling systems. From residential tune-ups to commercial HVAC projects, Mountain Valley has you covered. Rebates and credits end at the end of this year. Take advantage today. Go to mtnvalleyhvac.com and start saving while you feel the love.
Looking for comfort and convenience in Logan? Stay at the Bomb Motel for just $79 when you mention Aggie 79. Just minutes from USU. Perfect for football games, commencements, campus events, and more. Enjoy your stay without the hassle. Your sure stay Bomb Motel offers cozy beds, free continental breakfasts, and a seasonal outdoor pool. True comfort and value. $79 rooms with Aggie 79. The Bomb Motel. Call 435-752-5220. That's 752-5220 today.
Old McDarrell has a farm, an appliance farm.
With down home country prices and big city selection.
E-I-E-I-O. When you're looking for a friendly spot to drive a little and save a lot, hey, Old McDarrell has a farm, an appliance farm. Darrell's Appliance. Low overhead, but lots of country charm. See Darrell's Appliance in beautiful downtown Benson.
The Aggies, Jazz, high schools, even the Pee Wee's T-ball team. It's the Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, The Fan.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker, getting you ready for Utah State and Fresno State. They kick off on Saturday. We'll have full play-by-play coverage on The Fan as they get ready to take on Fresno State. It's a late one on CBS Sports Network, an 8:30 kick, which means pregame coverage at 6:30 on Saturday night. Fresno State, right now, Vegas people have the Bulldogs favored by 2.5. And a relatively low-scoring affair, over-under set at 50.5.
Fresno, typically low-scoring team, and they have a good defense. So, and Utah State hasn't really been the explosive offense it was early in the season. They scored 26 points in overtime against a UNLV defense that, quite frankly, isn't even that good. Of course, it certainly seems to have shown improvement the last few weeks, much like Utah State's own defense has. But yeah, I think it will be a low-scoring game. It'll probably be something in the low 20s. Assuming it's a close game, it'll be somewhere in the low 20s and might creep over 50, might not. We'll see.
Yeah, this is a good defensive team in Fresno State. What they do is they take away a lot of things that you want to try to do. What can Utah State do? How well can they move the ball on these guys? So that's certainly the thing to keep an eye on. And we've been talking about their defense, and want to get a few things from Bronco Mendenhall about their defense. This is a solid defensive presence, what they do, and for a variety of different things that they do. And then we'll talk about some of their individual players. But here's some of the comments from Bronco Mendenhall this week describing this Fresno State defense and what makes them so tough.
Yeah, I think their defense is strong, and again, they're I think a defensive-minded football team by again the style they're playing offensively, and I think they like those games that are physical, that are tough, that are relatively low scoring, that they have a chance just to grind the ball out but also just be physical and play the run well and tackle well. But Fresno's talented, they're really well coached. And they're playing to basically a kind of a number of plays and a rhythm and a cadence of the game that matches really well. So they're matching the style of collective football, and each side of the ball is then coaching to that pretty specifically. And then the talented players they have doing what they're supposed to do at a high level, I think, is what's yielding that.
Yeah, it's the way that they apply pressure from different areas. It's a well-rounded defensive scheme that they're executing. And some of the guys on that team that are having banner years are two former Aggies, linebacker Jaden Pearson and defensive back Simeon Harris. And these were two guys who I liked in Aggie uniforms last year. A little surprised to see them transfer. And initially, you shouldn't be surprised by any transfers when a coaching change happens. But when Jaden Pearson took to social media and described why he left.
He didn't take social media. It was an interview with the news station.
Yeah, that's true. And then it was shared on social media. But it's what kind of raised an eyebrow for me.
I left Utah State. I wasn't planning on it. The New Mexico staff came in and they were just like, yeah, we just don't think you're going to be a fit for exactly of what we need. I don't necessarily agree with it, but it's the nature of the business. But ultimately, I think I made a huge jump forward in terms of programs and what Fresno State can offer me compared to Utah State.
So this was back in December or early January. I forget exactly when.
I think it was late December. I pulled the clip from a tweet from the news station that I should have wrote it down who it was so we can credit it properly. But they interviewed him and were talking about his decision to transfer. And so like he was kind of the notable one. And I think there was a high school recruit, I want to say, said something about how the coaching staff was like, yeah, we don't want you anymore or something to that effect. If my memory serves, I'm just thinking of that now. Else I would have dug a little bit more into it like we did to find the Jaden Pearson clip. But that was kind of the rumor behind the scenes, the stuff that we were hearing behind the scenes and even in front of the scenes, in front of the camera, that the coaching staff came in and were, instructing some players to leave. Now, Bronco pretty much denied that in press conferences. He denied that he was doing that, at least overtly. He was saying that there are cases where like players may feel that way, but to him, every player's decision to transfer was their own. Maybe made in concert with discussions with the coaching staff, but he didn't, own up to or admit to telling players that they weren't going to have a part of this team and it would be better for them to transfer. But
yeah, so right now it's kind of a he said thing.
Yeah, basically. And we actually asked Bronco Mendenhall about these two players, Simeon Harris and Jaden Pearson, and I couldn't remember if there was any overlap between when he got there and they left, and he indicated that there was no overlap.
So there was no overlap. I haven't met either of them. Lots of players enter the portal before a new coach even arrives, so I don't know either one personally, and really hadn't paid attention. So I look at numbers and I don't really look at names. My focus to this point of the press conference has been on their offense. Usually after the press conference I switch, and so I don't have enough. Other than seeing some crossover film where Fresno's defense was out there, but I haven't studied enough to really comment appropriately or accurately yet.
Jaden Pearson, he's 6th in the conference in tackles. But so he's a notable player for Fresno, but Broncos, like, I don't know who they are.
Yeah, well,
I don't remember talking to them.
And he didn't indicate that like it was the New Mexico staff that told us, like, I don't know if he was specifying Bronco Mendenhall, and I was just barely trying to track down like when he entered the portal. I don't know if he made any statements specifically, but there could have been there had to have been some overlap.
Somebody on the staff had to have some evaluation. I don't know why Jaden Pearson would say what he said if that wasn't part of some discussion with somebody on that staff.
Yeah, because like if it was he left before the staff came in, he would have just said, well, I wanted to leave because uncertainty about the new staff, and no one would have batted an eye. So it could very well be true that Bronco never actually met him, but he probably watched film on him.
Right.
Among a bunch of players, like there's, I don't want to ascribe, negative intentions on Bronco Mendenhall, because there's a world in which this just comes down to human memory, which is faulty. He just doesn't happen to remember these two players specifically, who entered the portal, during the transition to him becoming, head coach at Utah State.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, I don't know. I don't want to make a bigger deal about it.
We are going to start the drama now. Jaden Pearson and Bronco Mendenhall blood feud.
Yeah, that's right. Not throwing shade at each other.
So it's like that
happened a long time ago.
It's like that Avengers Endgame meme where it's like Scarlet Witch is like, "You took everything from me," and Thanos like, "I don't even know who you are."
Yeah. But there are two former Aggies that are on that team who are having a nice season. Jaden Pearson, certainly more than Simeon Harris. He's more of an impact player than Harris is.
Well, Harris is like their second leading tackler. Like they're both.
He's in the mix.
They're arguably their two best, at least their two most productive defensive players. Harris has 5 tackles for loss, a sack. He has 3 interceptions, which is tied for the team lead. So like these are their two impact defenders. Like these are their guys. It's not their only guys, but these are
they are impact players, as you said.
These are the guys making some of the biggest impact. So you got to watch out for these guys. Are they going to have outsized games so they hold malice in their heart toward Utah State? I doubt it's that big of a deal to them. But these were players who were at Utah State. Simeon Harris was there for 2 years. Pearson saying he didn't really intend to leave. But then circumstances led him and Simeon Harris both to Fresno State, where you can argue they're probably doing better than they would have done at Utah State. As it seems the coaching staff wasn't super into their skill sets one way or another. But they're leading Fresno State in what is, again, arguably one of the better defenses in the conference. So maybe Mendenhall and the team could have used 2 guys like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes you miss on a guy. Sometimes
that happens all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes you just the fit just isn't quite right. And sometimes somebody needs, when they're told, I don't think we see the fit for you just yet. That's a motivating factor for them to go put a chip on their shoulder and prove other people wrong.
Yeah. And fit is very much a thing because, if your skill set doesn't fit with the scheme, you will just play worse. Even if, if you go to in one scheme, you might be an average to below average defensive end, but in a different scheme, you might be an all conference, defensive player of the year type guy. Same count, same athleticism, same work ethic, all that. But scheme can play a big part of that. And sometimes just working with the right people and just where you mesh better with them personality wise and communication wise. That is something that can happen. Like you can argue that happened with Bryson Barnes going from Utah, where he was kind of a mediocre backup, and he comes to Utah State, and I'm sure he's kind of transferring down in competition, but he's going out there and playing all conference level football as a quarterback because he's playing within a scheme where the offense really suits him more than it did at Utah.
Well, even in just comparing his time in an Aggie uniform. Last year, it was an offensive scheme that favored Spencer Petras and his style of play. And when Bryson tried to get into that, he was, not as effective.
Yeah, the USC games and the Utah game, he was not really that great.
No, but then this year the offensive scheme changes. It's a better fit for his skill set. It's like, oh my gosh, this guy's great. And he's in the discussion for the conference offensive player of the year. And it's just the fit is better now, even though he's still in the same jersey, but the coaches have changed, the scheme has changed, and it's better suited for what he can do best.
Yeah, and I'd argue even at the end of last year when they tailored the offense a little bit more to him, he did something that's never been done at Utah State before, basically twice, running for 190 yards 2 games in a row. Like that, they finally decided to tailor the offense around him, and what do you know, it worked. So that's where you can't just say straight up, well, Jaden Pearson and Simeon Harris, they just would have been the same kind of player within Mendenhall's and in Nick Howell's system. Maybe they would have, because talent can overlap between some systems, but there's no guarantee that it would have. So, and as you said earlier, sometimes you just miss on a guy.
Yeah. Well, when I saw those comments from Pearson last December, I even took to social media like, man, this is disappointing to see this happen because I like these guys. I thought they were impact players. It's kind of weird and fortunate that this coaching staff would show them the door,
Harris was tricky because he was injured for most of last year. He only played in 3 games. He was good for the Aggies in his first year. We had 59 tackles. But, it was a little tricky where I don't know, maybe they didn't want to take on a guy who just missed a season, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Hard,
I don't know all their reasons for Utah State because apparently Bronco doesn't know those reasons because he wasn't part of that discussion.
Apparently was not part of the discussion for at least those 2 particular players.
Quickly from the Young Power Sports of Logan text line 2947. I missed the show yesterday. Did we adequately mourn our failure against the Rebels? So sad. Yeah, it got a little warm in here because we were debating some things. I'd say we'd adequately mourn the failure. Also, I'm surprised we didn't call more aggressive plays in the second overtime when we already had data showing our kicker was rattled that night. Also, it's tough to essentially lose a game by a missed PAT, making that would have changed a lot about that game.
Yeah, I'd need to double check the aggressiveness of the play calling in at least the second overtime because I think they passed it on first down, got sacked on second down, and then it was 3rd and 17. You got a play call for 3rd and 17? And then they kicked a field goal because they didn't get anything off that. And I talked about their play calling in the first overtime where they went for it all on the first play. And then they ran and then went for the field goal.
Yeah. And the missed PAT changing a lot over the course of the game. And we had our most heated debate about whether you have to go for 2 or kick the PAT in the second quarter. But I don't know if it would drastically change things, but it does change a little bit with UNLV's mindset about how they chase points. Do they just kick field goals or do they feel like compelled to get touchdowns? So that changes an offensive mindset if you're trying to get caught up. But I don't know that it was at that point in the game that it really affected the game that much.
Yeah, if you just try and tack on that PAT to the game, because you'd have to figure out like, okay, how would UNLV react to that? As you said, throughout the entire game, you can do that with any of the field goals. If most everything else stayed the same throughout most of the game and it didn't impact their thinking, then basically the first time that it would have definitely changed something was UNLV when they kicked the field goal to tie the game at 23. Well, if there's that extra PAT or any one of the field goals, well, then they go for it on that 4th down, and who knows what happens from there. Right. God only knows at that point. But, that's, it's you could argue that they lost a 6-point game by any combination of the 13 points they left on the board, courtesy of their kicking game. And again, we kind of went over this yesterday, but there were a bunch of different things that you could blame this on, but the kicking was the most public of it, or most visible part.
Most visible, yeah. Another quick timeout here on the Full Court Press. When we come back, let's continue talking football, but we've got some other things we wanted to talk about. We also got Utah Jazz. They're in action tonight, taking on the Lakers. We've got the stat that blew our minds. A whole lot more things to discuss next on the Full Court Press.
Advanced Heating and Air Conditioning and Advanced Fireplace and Stove want to help local families this year with a food drive. Drop your canned foods off at the Advanced Fireplace and Stove showroom across from DI or hand them to one of their technicians when they come to your home for a repair. The Advanced team will match all contributions and offer the first month free when joining the Advanced Comfort Club. Find out more at advancedheating-ac.com. Donate to the Advanced Canned Food Drive for local families.
Hi, this is Emily with Serenoni. When you give a Serenoni blanket, you're giving the gift of everyday comfort, the one they'll reach for again and again. Made from the softest, most luxurious fabrics, each Serenoni brings warmth, security, and comfort into every home. Because true luxury shouldn't come with a luxury price tag. At Serenoni, you'll find the same unmatched softness as leading competitors at half the cost. Shop online, in-store on 10th West next to iFit, or at Locals by Old Navy. Serenoni, the gift that everyone loves, made to comfort.
Brr, winter's here and that old car sitting in your driveway isn't getting any warmer. Turn that frozen junker into cold hard cash with DD Auto and Salvage in Logan. It's never too cold, too wet, or too late to clean up and cash out. DD Auto and Salvage makes it quick and easy. They'll even pick it up for you. Get the most money possible for your junk vehicle or scrap metal and earn a little extra holiday cash while you're at it. Call 787-1204. That's 787-1204. And let DD Auto and Salvage pay you today. DD Auto and Salvage. Cold cars turned into hot cash.
You can feel it in the air. Crisp mornings, falling leaves, and the smell of something baking at the old grist mill. It's that time for pumpkin bread and cinnamon drop bread, straight from the oven and full of fall flavor. And don't forget, Roll Heaven. Soft wheat, butter, and white rolls baked fresh daily, perfect for every dinner table or every family gathering. Whether it's a cozy breakfast, a quick lunch, or game day rolls, the old grist mill makes it feel like home in South Logan, Logan, and Smithfield. The old grist mill. Taste the season.
They never could play it, but they sure can talk about it. Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker on the Full Court Press.
Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker. This is the Full Court Press on 106.9 The Fan. It's where we love to hear from you on the Young Power Sports of Logan text line, 435-339-0321, for those who want to weigh in. By the way, we got a lot of questions on Monday, and I've received a lot in the halls. I got a lot of questions over the weekend through friends and neighbors about what could happen on Thursday in the 4A football championship. It's scheduled to be played Thursday morning at 11 in Salt Lake City. And there's two Cache Valley schools squaring off against each other. So why not move it to Logan? Let them play close to home. Let a lot more fans, make it easier for them to come and watch the game and be there to support their favorite teams. So last night after the show, I reached out to some officials at Utah High School Activities Association, and their response, they were quick to respond, but their response was, and I will quote, "The consideration to move the game was presented to both schools and the district, and they decided to leave the game at Rice-Eccles."
So I guess I owe a bit of an apology where I was implying that they would not consider that and throwing some other people under the bus, and it seems that decision was made by locals for whatever reason. I guess I assumed that they wouldn't want to pass up the chance to have the game in Logan, and it seems they very much did pass up the opportunity to have it. As I said, if they wanted to move it, they could have moved it, and UHSAA decided that they would leave the decision up to the people who are playing in the game, and which is how I would prefer that process to go. So props to the UHSAA for that. They left the decision, and the people whose best interest, they let them decide what's in their best interest. They did just as much, and so the decision to keep it in Salt Lake does not fall on the UHSAA. So don't send any blame their way, despite what I said yesterday. So my apologies there.
Yeah. Now, we didn't think about this until a little bit too late, but we did try to reach out to the Cache County School District to get a response from them.
The way to phrase this is 106.9 The Fan has reached out to the district, but has not yet received comment.
Yes, but didn't really give them a lot of time.
It was like 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, so 20 before the show. Yeah. But we'll still try to at least get a comment from them, because I know that's a bit of a head scratcher for some. Like, why would you not take that opportunity? But we don't know all the other things that may have been had to consider by the district to do that. I know that there are going to be buses that will take students down. Their signups are going around, and students who want to go and be there to support their teams will have opportunities to go down on buses to head down Thursday morning. But at least that's the word. They did try. They reached out, gave them the option, And the schools in the Cache County School District decided to keep the game at Rice-Eccles Stadium. Another quick timeout. We'll be right back on the Full Court Press.
Addiction does not discriminate. If you or someone you love is struggling with addiction, you're not alone. There is hope out there. Renaissance Ranch has been teaming up to provide a place for healing. They understand themselves how powerful it is to overcome addiction. If you've lost hope or if you're scared for someone you love, there is a way back. Renaissance Ranch is there to help you out. You can learn more by going to renaissanceranch.net or visiting their location right here in Logan.
Hi, this is Chad Norton at the Lawn Doctor. Just over a year ago, we lost a great man who happened to be my dad, who was an integral part of our business and worked for us for 8+ years. Stan had a passion for taking care of the hungry and those in need. So as we get ready for this holiday season, in his honor, we have started a campaign called Give a Can for Stan to benefit the local food pantry. Here are the ways you can donate. If you're a Lawn Doctor customer, we'll pick it up on your final service. Or if you see a Lawn Doctor van, please feel free to hand it to the technician. You can also drop it off at our offices here in Logan. Or go to the website giveacanforstan.org. Thanks for participating in Give a Can for Stan.
Let Elements Restaurant take the work out of your Thanksgiving feast. Enjoy a full-course, chef-prepared holiday dinner, perfectly roasted turkey with sage gravy, cranberry sauce, garlic mashed potatoes, whipped sweet potatoes, traditional stuffing, green beans, and your choice of pumpkin pie, apple galette, or pecan pie. All pre-cooked and ready to serve. Available for pickup the Wednesday before Thanksgiving from 3 p.m. to 7:50 p.m. Relax and enjoy a gourmet Thanksgiving at home. Pre-order today. Call Elements Restaurant 750-5171. That's 750-5171. Because great holidays start with great food.
Advanced Heating and Air Conditioning and Advanced Fireplace and Stove want to help local families this year with a food drive. Drop your canned foods off at the Advanced Fireplace and Stove showroom across from DI or hand them to one of their technicians when they come to your home for a repair. The Advanced team will match all contributions and offer the first month free when joining the Advanced Comfort Club. Find out more at advancedheating-ac.com. Donate to the Advanced Canned Food Drive for local families.
The Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Keep your car running its best with the help from Napa Auto Parts. If you need a new battery or you need new wiper blades, Napa has the best brands. Can even help you with installation right on the spot at the store. When we had the rain earlier this week, did your wiper blades handle it okay? Now that it's getting colder, is your battery handling it okay? Go get that help if you need it. At least go get it checked at Napa Auto Parts and multiple locations between Preston and Providence. So it's Tuesday. So we like to take a little moments on Tuesdays to highlight a few things that stand out to us. The stat that blew our minds and our player of the week.
Let's take a look at the numbers. It's the stat that blew our minds.
He did what?
On the Full Court Press.
Wow, that blew my mind.
So here's how we're going to do this. I have a stat. Jason has a player. I do not have a player, and he does not have a stat.
You didn't need to explain why we were doing that. They might not have known that both of us were lazy in one particular way.
Let's say it's because of time, for the sake of time. Okay, Jason, let me throw something at you, and you try to guess who this is. But this is mind-boggling. This player has over 2,500 passing yards, 250 rushing yards, 20 or more touchdown passes, a better than 70% completion percentage, and a better than 80% win percentage. No other quarterback in NFL history has put up these numbers over any span of 11 starts in a single regular season.
Is it Daniel Jones?
No.
I figured it'd be dumb enough for it to be him.
It's Drake May.
Oh, was it Drake May? That was honestly my other guess, but I figured it would be Daniel Jones because that'd be a little crazier just because Drake May is coming into his own. Daniel Jones has already had a career arc, but then suddenly, I don't know, he's being like Ryan Fitzpatrick or whatnot.
Starting to slow down. Indiana Jones, yeah. But Drake May's had a tremendous start of the season. Oh, it's not a start anymore. I mean, this is what it is.
This is the season.
Yes.
This is what he's doing, and he may very well end up winning MVP, which the rest of the NFL is terrified over the prospect of Patriots getting another MVP quarterback.
Yes. Okay, so that's the player, or excuse me, the stat that blew our mind. But how about a player of the week?
Time to see who the real MVP is.
If you have a good game, your game is going to say that. You don't have to say it.
Puts a lot of cool things in perspective anytime you're the first time doing something.
It's the Full Court Press Player of the Week.
Let's go! All right, Jason, who stood out to you this week?
Lauri Markkanen has stood out to me this week. This is a guy who, over the last 3 games, is averaging 40.7 points. They scored 35, then 40, then 47 in that double overtime win over Chicago. And for the season, he's averaging 30.6. So he's having a spectacular start of the season. We were hoping he was going to have a bounce back, and that, the good performance in the Euros, which kind of heralded his first, breakout season here in Utah. But after a couple of relative down seasons, he is exploding even further than what he did in his first season in Utah. So spectacular stuff.
And playing great defense. He's blocking shots, stealing shots, hitting threes, attacking the rim. I mean, he's definitely at an all-star level. We'll see if it can continue and see if he makes it into the all-star game this upcoming season. A lot more next.
I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. Drafting a running back in the first round is often treated like a football faux pas. We're told it's a luxury pick, a position you can fill later, a move only justified for a rare player with rare usage. Think Bijan Robinson in Atlanta, Jahmyr Gibbs in Detroit. When you draft a back that high, you're drafting touches, production, and impact from day one. That's why the situation in Vegas feels baffling. The Raiders spent premium draft capital on Ashton Genty, betting on his explosiveness and college resume, but the returns haven't matched the investment. He's 19th in the NFL in rushing yards, 16th in attempts, not even close to the immediate impact needed for a high draft pick. Last night, perfect example. 6 carries, 7 yards, a non-factor in the loss to the Cowboys. That's not just usage. That's a philosophy issue. If you're going to take a running back that high, then use him. Otherwise, you're turning a calculated risk into flat-out bad business. I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. It's being called the Golden Bonanza Sweepstakes.